Hey everyone, Matt Vincent here. Welcome to Dinner Church. Maybe this is your first time checking things out, or maybe you've been tracking with us for a little bit of time as we've been experimenting with this new way of being spiritual community together. However you find yourself watching this, welcome. I'm going to take the next little bit just to explain a little bit about who we are as a Reunion Dinner Church network, give you a little bit of our story, and then share a little bit about where we're going in this series. So back in 2014, let's go back there. In 2014, my wife Bobby and I and some of our friends spent some time in our home, in our living room with some good friends, praying and sharing meals and talking about this idea of starting and planting a new church. And so we began just to do what friends do when they get together. We brought food together, and because we were considering the idea of church, we started talking about what would that look like, what would the values be, how would we do things differently, what felt natural to us. We weren't trying to reinvent or assume we were better than anything. Rather, we were just trying to get in touch with what felt natural for us to express our faith in Jesus and to welcome other people to consider that. So we had meals and we read scripture and we talked about it. We asked questions, we prayed together, we shared communion or the Eucharist together. Sometimes if someone showed up who was musical, they'd bring a guitar, we'd sing some together. All these rhythms that are a natural part of a church community, we just started doing them in our living room. And slowly we started inviting people to join us in that. Now this was before we even had a name. We didn't know what our church would be called. We didn't really have a grand plan on where we were all going. We simply felt like this was the right thing to do and that Jesus was inviting us into this adventure of establishing a new spiritual community. So more and more people started showing up, it started growing, we started filling up our home. We eventually moved to a different rental space where we could meet a little bar downtown in the city we live in called the Moonshine Cafe. We started hanging out there on Sunday nights, and ultimately it was just this wonderful, beautiful adventure and journey that we were on for that season. And while we were doing that, here's what happened. While we were doing that, we started meeting other people in other cities and other neighborhoods who also were feeling like we should, that they should be doing something like that. So we started having these loose conversations about what would it look like to partner together. Now, back in our own little group, our own church, we eventually needed a name. And so one night I was out for a run. I know I don't look like much of a runner. I'm not like that graceful type. I more like plod my way through. But running for me is an escape. It's a chance to be by myself with my thoughts. It's a time where I actually talk a lot with God. And so I was on this run, and at some point during it, the scripture from 2 Corinthians 5 came to mind. And that passage, if you read it, talks about our role as ambassadors of Jesus. So as followers of Jesus and ambassadors of Jesus, our role then is to help people be reconciled, to come back together, to find purpose and harmony back together. And I started thinking as I was running about that idea of everyone coming back together, that we're ambassadors, we're inviting people to come back and explore who God is. And I thought, that's kind of like a spiritual family reunion. It's like everyone's coming back to the table, picture a long harvest table, everyone's jumping in. We thought, man, that could be a really cool name. So Reunion as a name of a church was born. Now, we started, like I said, we were having these conversations with other people, and we said, well, what does it look like to work together? And so what we started doing is writing down and trying to capture the things that we were experiencing together in community, and how do we best articulate that? We weren't trying to come up with a set of doctrine or theological statements because we were already part of a broader family that we align with theologically. So instead we were trying to say, what does it practically look like to follow Jesus here and now, looking at the life and teachings of Jesus and the pattern of the early church. And so what we developed were 6 culture statements. We refer to them as culture statements. And what they are is they help give us definition to what our community looks like and new communities that have become part of the Reunion network. And so these 6 statements, they were capturing what we were already experiencing, but also they were aspirational in the fact that we thought, we're not arrived in this, we still are on a journey, so we want to keep moving in this direction. So it's here, but also where we want to go. And they're both personal and corporate. We're sharing these together as a community, but I also need to own that. Matt Vincent needs to own these things in my own journey and apprenticeship with Jesus. And so here are the 6, and this is where this series will be going. Over the next 6 episodes, we'll be spending 1 episode per culture statement. So it's a chance for you to get to know the Reunion network, who we are, what we're all about, and what kind of guides us. These statements give us common language to all of our churches in the network, whether it's a more traditional church plant somewhere, or whether it's a part of this new dinner church movement that we're helping to foster and facilitate. However people are joining, these statements give us a shared sense of value and language. So whether it's across Canada, where many of our groups are, we also have a church in the Middle East, one in Colombia. So as we're spreading out and more geography is involved, again, this is an anchoring point for us as the Reunion Network. And so here's where we'll be going over the next 6 weeks. So the first episode will be on our culture statements, and we call it Pupils, a Culture of Apprenticeship. And this is what it looks like when we engage, establish, equip, and empower people as apprentices of Jesus. That will be the next episode. Then we go to People, a Culture of Table. This is the whole idea of sharing time and space together and making that a priority. What we were experiencing in the early days in our living room, of sharing meals, of praying together, of being in each other's space in a regular weekly rhythm. Third one is Party Goers, a Culture of Celebration. That for many people feels like when they read the list, that's kind of a quirky one, that's an interesting one. But we see that in the life of Jesus. He was accused of being a glutton and a drunkard, and he spent time in moments of celebration with people in regular life. And so we felt like that should be a part of who we are as a church too. And we were throwing parties to invite people to check out our church. So it kind of made sense. The next episode will be on Peacemakers, a Culture of Reconciliation. So what does it look like to go into places of pain and brokenness and invite and be agents of change and agents of reconciliation and peace? That's part of our call as followers of Jesus. Then Pioneers, a Culture of Adventure and Innovation. What does it mean, even though we're a new network of churches, what does it mean to always be willing to change things up, to try new things, to be on our toes, and not get stuck in who we are? A willingness to keep the message of Jesus central, but maybe use it and present it in different ways so that more people can understand and participate and join our community. And then the last one is Planters, a Culture of Multiplication. Even as we are growing as a network, dinner churches, traditional church plants, established churches now joining us, things like that. Even while we're doing that, we always want to have a heart to expand and invite more and more people to join us in this adventure we're on. Again, it's no grand plan. We simply are following relationship and see where it leads. And so this is just a way to set you up. You can have a conversation with your dinner church now about these 6 culture statements, what they mean, talk about it a little bit. Some of you may be familiar with the Reunion Network or our larger denominational family, the Being Christ Church of Canada, but just take some time now just to chat about all this. And then we're really excited over the next 6 episodes to dig deeper and explore what it means to be part of this Reunion Network and the values that hold us together. So thanks for coming on this adventure. We're really glad that you're here. We will talk more soon. Peace.